Welcome to another episode of the Down Under Stormtrooper. Today I thought I'd spend a little bit of time looking at some of my favourite glues and adhesives. So when I first started building costumes, one of the biggest things that was a bit of an unknown for me was, well, which is the best type of glue to put together the armour. So most of the armour is ABS plastic. Some glues do tend to melt the plastic, so you've got to watch out for that. So I thought it was a good idea just to dedicate an episode to show you my favourite ones, and I'll also demonstrate how to use them. So the first glue we're going to have a look at is CA glue. So this brand is Zapagap. It's available in most of your local hobby shops. It's used for putting together models. It's quite easy to work with as well. So you get about, I'd say about 10 or so seconds to be able to work with the glue while you're putting your pieces together, get them in the right position. So you got a little bit of give there, a little bit of time. And then if you hold the parts together for about 10 to 15 seconds, then they'll bond fairly well. And I find that bonds quite strongly in that about a minute or so, and you've got a good strong connection there. Obviously, it will take a lot longer, the usual 24 hours or so for the full bond to take effect. But in order to get your kits to put together really fast, this is a great glue to use. So it's nice and easy. So this one is a 2-ounce bottle. With most of the glues, I tend to find that I like to just scuff up the edges of the parts that I'm going to be putting together. You can use a bit of sandpaper to do that. Some of the glues, it's actually quite good to score it with a knife as well. But in this instance, I'm just going to use a little bit of sandpaper. The glue does come with a sharp needle-like applicator, which is great, but you will find that after you've used this maybe once or twice that it does get clogged together with previously used glue. So what I'm going to do now, just run a bead of the glue there, and I will do that on both parts. Now you can see it doesn't run too much, so it's quite easy to work with. I do like to replace the lid with this straight away. All right, and then all you need to do is hold the parts together. So, a good 15 seconds or so, and that should stick fairly well. But I do like to sort of give it a little bit longer. Now, Zapagap does come with a kicker product, so that's a spray that you can use which will speed up the time for it to actually set. But to be honest, I've never found a need to purchase that. I've always found that this is a pretty quick set glue, so I don't really have any concerns with just doing this by hand. So you can see it's only been a few seconds since we've put these pieces together, and it's already got a pretty decent bond. I'm struggling to pull these pieces apart. So that's Zapagap. I do tend to use that on a lot of my model building, and I've already used it in the Stormtrooper kit that I've been building as well. So I've used it for the PLA 3D printed Stormtrooper helmet. So you might have seen that I was putting that together with that as well. Works great. So yep. Really love this product. One of the cons with CA glues is the shelf life. It does tend to get really crusty on the outside, and then that does work its way into the bottle as well. So if it's been 6 months or so since you've used a bottle, you may find that the whole thing is wasted. So just keep that in mind when you purchase the Zapagap. If you're not likely to be using it all in one hit, I wouldn't get a larger bottle. I'd probably stick with the smaller ones. Even if you buy multiple smaller ones, it's probably going to be better bang for buck. The next glue we're going to have a look at here is E6000. So E6000 is available from a lot of your haberdashery style shops, so things like Spotlight and Lincraft here in Australia. They stock E6000. It's readily available to purchase online as well. In fact, it's probably a little bit cheaper to get it from an online retailer. It's often used for putting together jewellery, and it does come in a clear, which is this is the crystal clear, and it does come in a white and a black. I've not used the white or the black because I'm not really into building the jewellery with this stuff, but it is good. It's self-leveling, so what you can do is put this on some baking paper or something like that, and it will level out automatically for you. It's probably not particularly useful in the realm of building armour, but that is one of the properties. It's waterproof, so that's great for your kits as well, and you can paint over the top of it as well. One of the things with these 6000 is it can run, so as you put your two pieces together, you may get some bleeding out of the glue, but all you got to do is just wait for that glue to set, and then you can just easily peel that out. So you can use a knife to cut that and remove the excess, and it becomes a bit of a gel-like substance, so something like a no more gaps style substance there, and it's really elastic. One of the things I like about E6000 is that it does have a little bit of flex in it. So if you're putting together some parts that are in sort of movable areas of the body, then this will have a little bit of give. Another thing I really like about E6000 is that you can undo your bonds with this as well. So for example, here is a part that I put together with E6000 last night, and it's quite strong. So it hasn't been 48 hours since I put this together, but you can see that there is quite a lot of strength in there, and it's not going to come apart without any really serious attempt. But what you can do, if you're really careful, is you can break the seal just with a nice sharp knife, and just take your time with it. And you can see I'm able to get in there and slowly break the seal here. So there you go. So any direct pulling apart is quite difficult, but if you break the seal with a knife, you can pull that apart. So you can see that, look at that, you can see the elasticity there. And then once you pull those parts apart, all you need to do is just clean that with a razor blade, again nice and carefully with a razor blade, and then you can work on the part and then put it back together. So E6000 is really good for instances where, say for example, you might have a cover strip here, and obviously you can use other glues to pull that together, but yeah, you could use E6000 behind this, put that together, and then if for some reason there's a mistake that's been made, you can nice and gently pull that apart. So yeah, E6000 is a really good choice for putting together armour, especially if you're using like your ABS armour from a supplier like Stormtrooper factory or a Novos. So yeah, really good option for putting kits together. It's not massively expensive. Like I said, you can get this from Lincraft and Spotlight, but also readily available in much larger tubes from online suppliers. So if you're putting an entire bit of armour together, then this is definitely one that you can use. I do find it's a nice and easy glue to work with as well. You've got a lot of time to play with the glue before it actually bonds. So this instance, it's actually got some applicators that have been supplied. So if you need to be accurate with it, you can do that. So bit of a needle style applicator there. Right, now I'm not going to use this one because that's my test piece. Let's get some new plastic. And what I do like to do here is just score a bit of a hex pattern on the armour that or the plastic that I'm going to put together, and that just gives the glue something to grip hold of. Alright, so you can see glue's starting to come out now, and it's quite a gooey texture, but I do find this incredibly easy to work with. It is a little messy, And once the glue starts flowing, it's kind of hard to stop it, so just keep that in mind. All right, and then I just put the pieces together. And I'll just clamp this. So I've got these tiny clamps. Now you might see there's a little bit of glue that is running out of the edge there. And again, that's going to be fine because I can just come in after once the glue is set. So tomorrow I could just come in, cut through that, and then just pull that excess glue out. So that's E6000, really easy to work with. And I've built entire kits with this as well. And like I said, it does have that pretty easy undo facility with that as well, so it's a little bit forgiving. So you do have a fair bit of time to work with this. You know, I'd say easily you've got a couple of minutes to be able to move these parts around, and it will take a good 48 hours for that for that to set properly. So you know, so 24 hours will be a good bond, and then obviously 48 hours, and you know, even longer than that to get a really nice strong bond. But yeah, E6000 is definitely one of my go-to glues. So in terms of shelf life, E6000, I have had that sitting in my toolbox there for a good 6 months or so, and it's not too bad. Do recommend you keep it in a nice cool environment. Similar with Zap-A-Gap actually. Zap-A-Gap, some people swear by putting it in a refrigerator. I feel a little bit nervous about putting glue in with my food products, but yeah, if you can keep it refrigerated somewhere, then it's probably a good way to store your glues. The next glue we're going to look at is plastic welder. So this one's from Permatex. You used to be able to get this readily from Super Cheap Auto here in Australia, but I had a lot of trouble trying to get this recently. I was able to get it from Autobarn. Not particularly cheap. You're looking at around about a $20 mark for something like this. So you expect to spend anything from $20 to $24 for this. Obviously cheaper online, so if you can get that, if you're not in a hurry, you can certainly get that online for a lot cheaper. It's called a plastic welder, but to be honest, I don't really think I would consider it to be welding the two parts together. It's still an adhesive, still a glue at the end of the day. To me, a plastic welder is when it's actually fusing the two pieces of plastic together. So that's not really what this is doing. So you've got about a 5-minute working time with this one, and it takes 10 minutes to cure with a full bond strength. Let me see, full bond strength would be 24 hours for this one. Okay, so this does come with two different tubes there. So one side is the resin and the other side is the hardener. So just need to slowly squeeze these out, making sure I'm applying equal pressure on either side. All right, now I'm not going to be using a lot. And as soon as I've used it, I'm going to put the cap back on and then give this a good stir. And with the plastic that I'm going to bond together with it, I'm just going to make sure I rough this up with a bit of sandpaper. And I'll do that to both sides. Okay, and just put a good covering of the adhesive across the part here. Okay, and then you've got to leave about 5 minutes before that starts really setting, and you can see I've got a bit of give there still, so a lot of time to be able to move that together in the right position. So when you're holding together your parts for gluing overnight, you can of course use these clamps. These are great, they're not a problem, but they can get a little bit awkward and it's a little bit challenging if you've only got a limited supply of them. So a great tip that I learned early on is to get yourself a heap of rare earth magnets. These things are incredibly strong. They really hurt when you pinch your fingers together with them, so be aware of that. and they do have the ability to shatter if you drop them or you let them smack together really quickly and hard. So just be aware of that. I have broken a few, and those once they're broken, they're really sharp. But these things are incredibly strong. So there's nothing better than some rare earth magnets to put your parts together, and it's really helpful when you're doing things like these carves. So if you're wanting to glue your cover strip down, you can just get a series of these rare earth magnets to hold that part down while you're gluing it together. Because in an area like that, it's super hard to try and get clamps that are going to go all the way up that cover strip. So yeah, rare earth magnets, yeah, you're definitely a maker's best friend. So I would recommend getting a set of these. So I guess some of the cons with the plastic weld. It really does stink, so yeah, you're going to want to make sure you're doing this outside. But I have seen people use this on exterior surfaces of their builds. Now, plastic weld does dry in a creamy colour, so you're going to see it. So you do not want to use that for your things like your cover strips, anything on the outside of your armour that if it does bleed out, it's going to cause an awful mess. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you want to keep the glue invisible here, because it's going to take a fair bit to sand that off and get that back to white, and then you're going to probably do some painting and things like that. So it's a little bit of a messy mistake to make. So I would always avoid using plastic weld unless it's clear. If it dries clear, then you might be fine. But yeah, at least all the plastic weld that I've ever used, it's always dried in a colour, something like a cream. So one of the main uses of plastic weld that I find is if I've got a smaller strip of ABS plastic that I'm using for putting the female connector of a snap in, and that will be used for doing your strapping for clipping your armour together. I find that I will use the plastic weld for bits like that. So I can put a good strong amount of plastic weld on there, and it's not going to come apart. So it's a really good solution for that. The next product we're going to look at is Weldon. Now this is a very liquidy style cement that is used for acrylics. It's incredibly fast using. It's not the easiest product to work with. You've got to be pretty confident with what you're doing. You've got to be quick with getting everything applied. You need to get the glue in the right spot. You need to make sure that you're confident that you're putting the two parts together in the right location, because this sets pretty much instantly. So just be aware. So this product is what I would consider to be a true welding solution. So it actually chemically fuses the two parts together. So the way you use this is you need to get a special applicator. And these are all available on Amazon. And you need to squeeze out the air from the applicator. Now, I've only got a really tiny amount in here, and that is going to be perfect for what we need for this demonstration. In fact, I'm not going to use that much. So with these products, I always like to make sure I put the lids back on the applicator and on the tin itself. It evaporates really quickly. In fact, I've had this probably a couple of years now, and just sitting in a cool, dark location, it still managed to somehow evaporate. So yeah, there's not that much in here, and I really haven't used it much at all. Can be a little bit on the tricky side to use. So I'm just going to scuff up the edges here. So with this product, you need to make sure you're really confident that everything is ready to go. So the next thing to do is, because this is so liquidy, it has a tendency to run absolutely everywhere. And if I were to tip that straight out, I'd get a stream of it come squirting out. So what you need to do is squeeze out as much air as you possibly can from the applicator. And then all you need are a few tiny dots of it. put it together, and again I'm replacing the lid straight away. Alright, and I'm just putting a little bit of pressure on there, but this will be fusing those two pieces of plastic together. So one of the challenges I found with this product is that if you're trying to use it for doing any repairs to your armour, because it's so liquidy, it can tend to run out over the front of your armour. So if you're doing repairs on the back, it's possible that it can run out the front. And if it does that, then you will notice it afterwards. So you'll need to clean up that with a bit of sandpaper, really fine sandpaper to clean up the armour. Because what it's actually doing is it will melt just a fine little bit. It'll melt the surface of the plastic. So that's just something to be very aware of. Another great use of this product is that because it's so liquidy, again, I'm going to squeeze this out so I don't get too much running, but on an edge, I can actually just bead that down the edge and it'll actually work its way underneath the seam. So it's a really good way to be able to get the cement into the crease. So the can says that you've got about a 1 minute of a working time. I found it to be significantly less than that, but that could be because we're in Australia and it might have to do with the heat and the humidity. It does tend to set a lot faster for me. All right, so there we go. I don't know if you can see that. That's the edge that I ran it along, but it's fusing that together really well. So the pros of this product is just how fast it is to use. So it fuses these parts together really quickly. So like, look at that, I can't pull that apart. So the fact that you can use this and get these parts put together so quickly means that if you're trying to build an armour in a day, you could use this product to do that. You do need to be accurate, you do need to be careful with the way you're applying it. I would suggest making sure that, again, in a nice well-ventilated area, but it's probably going to be one of those products where you're going to want to have somebody else to help you out, so someone that's going to hold the two parts and get them lined up ready for you. You dip put a couple of drops of the cement down there and then fuse those parts together. Honestly, you've got to hold it for maybe a minute and done, and then you're good to move on to the next part. So it means you're not having to spend a day waiting for these things to dry, like all these other bits that you've got clamped together. It gets rid of that problem altogether. So another product in the Weldon family is this one, so Weldon 16. So it's very similar to its big brother, Weldon 3, and the only main difference that I find is that it's a little bit easier to work with. It's not anywhere near as runny, so it's got a little bit more of a viscous texture to it, and I find it a little bit easier to pull parts together with. So let's pull these two parts together. So just scuffing up the edges. All right, so you can see that's a little bit more viscous. It's a little bit runnier than the E6000, but like the E6000, once it starts running it out of the tube, it doesn't like to stop. So you can see that moving a little bit there. Then I just need to place my second piece down. Alright, so you can, if you wanted to, clamp this one together. If you don't want to hold on to it, you want to move on to the next piece. You can see I've put a little bit too much on there, it's oozing out. But I can see a skin has already started to form on the outside of that glue. So I use this quite a lot if I'm doing quick repairs. So you know, if I'm found a new crack in my armour and I want to repair it from the inside, then you know, I might get a patch of ABS plastic and then just to quickly use this to fuse it together. It's a lot easier to use this than the Weld-on 3 because it doesn't run everywhere. So you know, you don't have that issue of accidentally getting a run come out through you know, from the back of the plastic that might run through the seam or the crack that you're trying to fix into the front of the armour. But you can also use the products in conjunction with each other. So you might put you know, your patch together on the inside of your armour with the Weldon 16, and then if you wanted to, you want to get a little bit more strength, you could run a bead of the Weldon 3 down in the crease there to get that little bit of extra strength and make sure that the whole edge of the plastics are bonded together. Yeah, so we're about 30 seconds in. I can see that there's still a little bit of give on there, but you know, within a good 5 minutes, that'll be nice and strong. Right, there you have it. These are my favourite glues that I use when I'm putting together armour. Sapacat's probably my go-to. I find it nice and easy, nice and quick to use. And I don't use the hardener, the kicker spray, never needed to use it, so I find just the product by itself here is great. E6000, I use that if I'm wanting some flex in my armour, so maybe the calves where there's going to be a little bit of stress that's going to occur on this front edge, so you know, as you're pulling the calves apart, be able to put them on, you may want a little bit of give there, so it still creates a really strong bond. But yeah, like I said, a little bit of flex. So that's something to keep in mind with that. And of course, the other thing with the E6000 is the undo factor. So if you do happen to make a mistake, you can very carefully pry those pieces of plastic apart with maybe a sharp knife, or a toothpick would even do it. And you can then clean up the part, you know, with a bit of a blade. You can, you know, any of that excess that is still visible on the part, you can slowly pull that apart. It actually does tend to just peel off when you're you know, using your hands, but then you can re-glue the parts, fix your mistake, re-glue the parts. So yeah, E6000 is pretty cool. I don't tend to go to the plastic weld all that much, mainly because I find it quite expensive for what it is, but I do tend to use it on the inside of my armour. So like I said, if I'm you know, putting the pieces where I'm going to put the snaps on there, then that's when I'll use the plastic welder. And if I want to build fast, then my go-to will be these. So I'm usually using the tube version because it's a little bit easier to work with. So probably as most costumers, as I'm about to go to a troop, I discover that, whoops, there's a new crack in my armour, I need to fix that, then I can use this, which it gives me a bit of working time, but I know it's also fast, so it's going to dry in time for my troop the next day, because generally speaking, I'm leaving this to the last minute. So yeah, this is a great one to work with. That's the Weldon 16 fast step. So I hope you found this video helpful. I would love to hear in the comments what your favourite glues are, how you use them, when you use them, why you like them so much. So yeah, I look forward to reading your comments there to see what other people are using. And as always, may those costuming gods be with you.